Okay, boys and girls, this is Mrs. Pelletier again, and I've chosen another book by Nicola Davies that's called One Tiny Turtle. And in this book, again, I want you to think about the book that we just read that was by Nicola Davies, that was called Just Ducks. I want you to see if there's some similarities. This one's now about turtles, but again, she's going to tell it like a story and give us some interesting facts. In fact, even on the first page, before you get to the title page, she gives you a little bit of information about turtles. Sea turtles are related to tortoises and terrapins. They are all reptiles. And reptiles are like lizards and snakes, and they usually have scaly skin over their body. Sea turtles are great wanderers. They travel thousands of miles each year, often far from land. This makes them difficult to study. So scientists are only just beginning to find out about their mysterious lives. So they don't really know a lot about these turtles. There are 7 species of sea turtles. This book is about the Loggerhead Turtle. Loggerheads live in seas all over the world. Okay? And see, these reptiles breathe air. Okay? So they can be in the water, but they do need to breathe air. One tiny turtle. Far, far out to the sea, land is only a memory. An empty sky touches the water. Only a memory means, well, they're going into the sea, so they were only in the land for a little bit. Now they're going to go into the water. Just beneath the surface is a tangle of weed and driftwood where tiny creatures cling. This is the nursery of a sea turtle. So a nursery, think about that, like nursery school where maybe young kids go to school, like 3, 4, 5-year-olds. This is the nursery for these tiny little turtles. Right below the surface, it says there's driftwood, so wood that's drifting, and some seaweed, and that's where they grow up. That's where the little turtles grow up. Okay? Passing in a boat, you might not notice the turtle, not much bigger than a bottle top. She hides in the green shadows. So think about that. She just gave us some information. This tiny turtle is no bigger than a bottle cap, probably about that big, that's it. She's a baby, so her shell is soft as old leather. Just a little fish bite could rip it open. But the turtle is safe in her world of weed and snaps her beak on tiny crabs and shrimps. So see, you can see, if you look carefully here, there are little tiny shrimp and crabs that she eats. But she is so, so tiny. And look at what Nicola Davies does. She gives us some interesting information. Turtles have shells that cover their backs and shells that cover their stomachs. So they have got a shell that covers their backs and a shell that covers their stomach. And the shells are made from bony plates that get bigger and harder as the turtle grows. So right now when they're babies, it's very soft, so they have to be protected by these weeds and everything so nobody gets them. Okay? And they just eat those shrimp and krill that are right in there. All right? But look at what she does. Why do you think Nicola Davies makes the words curvy like that? Talk to the person next to you about why you think she does that. Maybe she does that because the water is kind of wavy. Okay, so again, these are things that you can think about when you write your own books at home. The turtle swims around, flapping her long front flippers like wings. She is flying underwater. She pokes her pinprick nostrils through the silver surface to take a quick breath. So fast, blink and you'd miss it. So all they need is a quick little breath, and then they go back down into the water, and then she's gone, diving down into her secret life again. See, it's such a secret because we really don't see them. Scientists are studying to find out more about them. And look at here, she does it again. Nicola Davies gives us some more information. fish breathe underwater, but turtles are reptiles and they need to come up to the surface for air. They do this every 4 to 5 minutes when they are active. When they are asleep, they can stay underwater for hours. So that's interesting. If they're sleeping, they can stay underwater, but if they're active, every 4 or 5 minutes, they have to go up to the surface. The surface is the top, take a breath of air, and then they can go back down. Okay? For 3 or 4 years, maybe more, the turtle rides out the storms. Wow. And floats through the hot calms. Steadily, she outgrows her nursery. Nobody sees her leave, but when you look for her, she has vanished all the same. So see, she stays in the nursery, these turtles, for 3 or 4, actually maybe more years. So they stay together in that nursery, but then they disappear. They get out of the nursery and they go out into the ocean. And a year or 2 later, she turns up closer to land. So now she's a little bit bigger. Bigger than a dinner plate now. She's not a fish snack anymore. So if she's as big as a dinner plate, it's probably about that big. Okay, so she's a little bit bigger now. Her shell is hard as armor. Armor is strong, right? And her head is tough as a helmet. Have you ever seen a helmet that people might wear when you bike or when you play hockey? People wear helmets on their head. So her head is very strong. It's hard. Helmets are hard to protect your head and your brain. She's grown into her name, Loggerhead. That's her name. So she has a nice strong shell on her head, and that's why she's called Loggerhead. She has come to eat crabs. Millions swim up from deep water to breed in the shallows. Their shells crack as easily as hen's eggs in her heavy jaws. So see, she's going to eat these crabs, and the loggerhead's mouth, those jaws are very, very, very strong. So she can crack those crabs very easily. But in a week, the feast is over and Loggerhead disappears. So she eats a lot in that week, and then she disappears. Loggerhead wanders far and wide in search of food. So it's almost like a little story about this particular one we're following. In summer, to cool seaweed jungles where she finds juicy clams and shoals of shrimp. And in winter, to turquoise lagoons, warm as a bath, where she can munch among corals. So she goes from some seaweed jungles, it kind of looks like a jungle deep, deep down in the ocean, to these nice, in the winter she wants to find warmer water, so she goes to turquoise lagoons. Turquoise is a different color blue, it's like that, and likes to be among the corals. They may travel thousands of miles, but she leaves no trace or track for you to follow. Only good luck will catch you a glimpse of her. So there's no way to really trace them. That's why scientists have a hard time following these turtles. For 30 years, you might not find her. Then one summer night, she arrives on the beach where she was born. That is so interesting. So for 30 years, she's out in this huge ocean, and then she remembers where she was born, and she goes back to that beach. She's found her way here, sensing north and south like a compass needle. Feeling the current and the warmth of the waves, she remembers the taste of the water here and the sound of the surf. That's amazing. She can go thousands of miles away and find her way back to where she started, okay? Just like a compass. A compass shows you which direction to go, north, south, east, and west. These animals have incredible sense of direction, right? And here she gives you some more information. Male turtles wait just off the nesting beaches. They mate with the females, then the females come ashore to lay the eggs. So the males don't come ashore, okay? The females come onto the beach and they lay their eggs. Loggerhead has grown in her wandering years. She's big as a barrel now. Wow, she's a lot bigger. Floating in the sea, she weighs nothing, but on land, she's heavier than a man. These turtles are huge. So every flipper step is a struggle, and her eyes stream with salty tears, which help keep them free of sand. So every movement that she makes, it's a lot of work. That means that's what she means by a struggle. Coming ashore is very risky for sea turtles. They can easily overheat and die, so they only nest at night or in cool weather. Then they get back to sea as soon as possible, okay? Because they don't want to, it's dangerous when they're on the shore like that, so they don't stay very long, and they nest at night. Loggerhead makes her nest where the sea won't reach, right? Because if the water comes up to where she's nesting, it's going to take those eggs away. Scooping carefully with her hind flippers, she makes a steep, deep hole. So see, she's digging a hole for her eggs. Then she lays her eggs like 100 squidgy ping pong balls. Turtle eggs, well, loggerhead turtle eggs are like, they're very round. They're like a golf ball, like this, okay? Afterward, she covers them with sand to hide her nest from the hungry mouths. So she covers them up lightly, and then Loggerhead is gone again, back to her secret life. Left behind under the sand, her eggs stay deep and safe. Baby turtles grow inside. So she leaves them for a little while. What do you think she's going off to do? Females stay close to their nesting beach for several months. In that time, they usually make at least 4 nests, and sometimes as many as 10. So she stays around, makes all these nests, and before the summer's over, they wriggle from their shells. See, so now they're coming out, and right down here, look at what Nicola Davies does. She gives us information, but again, she makes it almost like the shape of the egg. Turtle eggs in warm sand can be ready to hatch in 6 weeks. If the sand is cool, they can take 3 weeks longer, okay? So the mother builds the nest, lays the eggs. If it's warm, they hatch in 6 weeks. If it's cooler, they take an extra 3 weeks, so that's 9 weeks, and then they come out. And let's see what happens. But above them on the beach, 100 eyes watch, on the lookout for a meal. So the hatchlings wait until night. So see, if they go during the day, the seagulls and the birds might see them. So they try to leave their nest at night and make their way to the water. Then they burst through the sand and skitter toward the sea. The horizon, where the sea meets the sky, tells baby turtles which way to turn to get to the water. But street lights and buildings next to the beach can confuse them and make them go the wrong way. So see, they look for the moonlight, but sometimes if there are other lights near the beach, they may think that's where they're supposed to go. So sometimes they get lost. In the dark, claws and beaks and grabbing paws miss only one young turtle. One day she'll remember this beach and come back. So of all of those turtles, only one of them made it to the ocean. The claws and the beaks of the birds ate the other ones. But now she dives under the waves and swims and swims out into the arms of the ocean, far, far out to sea. Landing becomes a memory waiting to wake in the head of the little turtle. So she's going to keep this beach in her memory so that she knows which beach to come back to, right? But now she's going to go out to sea and get more food and stay in her little nursery for a few years, and then she's going to come back to that beach and she's going to lay eggs. So here she gives you a little bit more information in terms of an index. So if you wanted to read about a reptile, you could turn to page 11. If you wanted to learn more or reread parts about the eggs, it gives you all of the pages that you can go back to. And she gives us a little note up here. She says, look up the pages to find out about all of these turtle things. Don't forget to look at both kinds of words, this kind and this kind, because Nicola Davies, we know, gives information in this print, but she also gives you information in here in the smaller print. That's kind of her trademark, okay? So let's think about why Nicola Davies may have written this book. She gives us more information about herself. She says Nicola Davies has loved turtles ever since she first saw one in the middle of the Indian Ocean. But people are eating their eggs, building on their beaches, and polluting their seas. She hopes this book will help show people that sea turtles are precious and they deserve more care. So that's why Nicola Davies wants us to learn about the turtles, because people are not being kind and they're polluting the water, they're building on their beaches, so these poor animals are not going to be able to survive, okay? So one of the things that you could do at home is think about maybe drawing like the life cycle of a turtle. So you could start with the egg, like a ping pong ball, right? And then you could make the baby when he's swimming in the weeds. And then I made this one, which is supposed to be like when he's a little bit older, okay? Because it changes from being kind of green to darker brown, okay? Yeah, another thing that you can do is talk to somebody at your house about all of these new facts that you've learned about turtles. And I wrote down some of them for us. We learned a lot about these loggerheads, that baby sea turtles live in a nursery until they are big enough to search for food. And remember, we learned that they stay in that nursery for sometimes more than 4 years. And then that loggerheads protect their babies like people. They are very, very protective. And people do not usually see them. That's why scientists are having such a hard time learning more about them. And then turtles grow in eggs and they hatch. We learned that. The mother turtle digs a deep hole and covers them with sand so they're hidden. And then we also learned that loggerhead turtles can find the original beach where they were born, okay? And then you could maybe add your pictures, okay, of whatever turtles you draw, okay? But I hope you enjoyed this book. And again, you can kind of see some similarities between both of these books now. She writes in a story, but she gives us some interesting facts in smaller print, okay?